How's it going, Guardians? There are 3 days left until Edge of Fate, and I know I said I was going to do Titans next, but apparently I recorded all my Hunter footage and forgot that was happening. So today, I guess, is Hunters. Titans, I'm sorry, you're moved to tomorrow as of now. We're going to start out here with Hunter builds. We are going to go over the artifact again, but I am just going to use the same explanation as yesterday. So if you watched yesterday's video for the artifact, that is going to be the same footage. You can skip over that part and get straight into the next build. To start us off, we have the Flame, Fiber, and Freeze mod, which is going to give you a Solar Strand and Solar Stasis Siphon mod. Those will be additional options. Instead of having to pick two separate slots, you can put them together. That'll be a good pick as long as you are doing something with solar. And if you're going to have a darkness thing instead of kinetic, great pick. Scavenger mods being reduced to 1, great pick as well. If you are going to be playing Stasis, this Frost Armor one, no one cares about. Yes, you're going to get plus 20 reload speed. I don't think that's a game changer at all. I'd rather take the ammo scav being cheaper or the siphon mods. However, the woven mail one's pretty good. You're going to get extra grenade and extra class stat. Going into the expansion, we're not going to have the best stat spreads to start out with, but this can help you either plug the gaps or get you some extra energy, get some of that grenade damage or some of that class ability over shield early on. And later on, once you are making these builds, you can kind of account for this and have this be a little bit of a boost for you whenever you have woven mail. This will work on prismatic and on regular strands, so nice piece to consider there. The rapid precision rifling thing with scout rifles is whatever. No one's really going to be using scout rifles in the legend campaign. If you do, you can think about this. It's just reload speed though. But I highly recommend taking either tightly woven, the siphon mods, or the scavenger mods. In that middle slot here, we're going to say you're going to get maybe 1 or 2 of these. I think you can get up to 2 of these and then 3 of the 4th column. So if you're going to take 2 of these, Fever and Chill is the obvious standout pick here. We're getting headshots with solar weapons gives you Radiant, and headshots with Stasis weapon gives you a stack of Frost armor. The Radiant is much more upfront and powerful than the Frost armor, so I will recommend, if you have to pick one or the other, to focus on solar on this. On top of that, Elemental Benevolence is pretty good. We're giving elemental buffs to allies, gives class ability energy. If you're playing solo, you're not trying to buff people, don't worry about it. You have Frost Renewal if you're playing Stasis. This will let your Stasis shield explode when your shields break. It will freeze combatants nearby and then give you, another thing of Frost Armor to replace that. I'm assuming this is going to have a cooldown, so it's not going to be totally reliable, but this will get you a bit more utility out of Frost Armor in general. And if you do have only 1 stack, that should still work with Fever and Chill in this combining to give you that AoE freeze with a cooldown. Reciprocation is a sidearm buff. If you're going to be playing with sidearms, you can run it, but I don't think it's going to be a game changer. Refreshing Threads, though, pretty useful on any class. You just need to match your super energy with the pickup that you're picking up, and you will get energy to your least charge ability. So if you're doing Strand, pick up Tangles, you'll get ability energy. Great flex pick, especially if you're going to be playing a not featured element. If you do go later, though, Threaded Blast is obviously good. Cauterized Darkness is going to be good. These other ones are kind of okay. And then Frigid Glare is going to be good. And Shield Crush and Radiant Shrapnel are the standout picks here. I don't think Elemental Overdrive is going to be crazy unless it's more than like 10%. If it's like 15%, this could be a pretty solid pick. But Shield Crush and Frigid Glare are going to be more consistent probably. But you can tailor it to whatever you're running. Like if you're running just Stasis, you could take both of those. You know what I mean? So since we're focusing on Solar, Stasis, and Strand, I want to start out with some Solar builds for Hunter today. Now, obviously, there are the old classics. You could use Nighthawk. You could use Amkara's Spine if you really want to. I'm going to show you a Galanor build just because Charge is pretty fun. It got buffed. It hasn't had the time in the day. And I think Blade Barrage is a perfectly fine super. So for our Legend campaign, this is the kind of thing that you can run and have some fun with. So obviously, we're running Shards of Galanor with this. This lets you get super energy for throwing knife kills. Obviously, we're going to use our subclass to get the refund on that. But each one of your kills will get you about 2.5 to 5%. And then you stack on hands-on on your helmet, which I don't have on here at the moment. But you will stack hands-on here, which will get you some more super energy. And that will stack with the super stat and the melee stat going forward. The other part of Shards of Galanor is when you get hits or kills with your Blade Barrage, you will get energy back up to half your bar. So this is a bit of a super spam build with the new super stat increasing your super gains, the new melee stat increasing our melee gains. You should see a bit more benefit out of running Shards. I am putting Monte Carlo on here just kind of as a stopgap to get more melee energy if you need it. I am having Ikelos on here with 1-2 punch, and I think the real play is if you get one while playing the campaign, you get a solar hand cannon with the shotgun spread with 1-2 punch. I think you put that in Ikelos shotgun's place, and then take just any other exotic special like New Land or Conditional Finality or something, because the hand cannon with 1-2 punch will get the same melee benefit with primary ammo instead of requiring, special ammo here. And 1-2 punch will now work with throwing knives. I think that's an important thing to account for. For your heavy, take whatever you like. I don't really work heavies into build a lot. It's usually just depending on the content that you're running. If there's land tanks, take a fusion. If there's not that, you can take rockets. If you need something for consistent damage without G-Horn, take grenade launchers. A lot of ads, take machine guns. Now moving into the subclass here, we're obviously on Solar. We're taking Blade Barrage as our super, Gambler's Dodge for our dodge, and I like Knife Trick here. Realistically, you could run any melee that you preferred. Whatever you can get kills with. I think Knife Trick has the second highest damage, if not the highest, if you hit all your headshots, but it's a little harder to use. However, it's also easier to use because you hit a couple body shots. It's not as bad as something like Lightweight or Weighted Knife can be. Healing Grenade is the option I took here just because I'm going to try and work in Empyrean to increase the duration of restoration. Very nice to have. Torches is here to give you Radiant, which means with Knock 'em Down equipped, you will get your knife back on a refund. Alright, you'll get refunded your knife on a melee kill while you are Radiant. So that will work together. No worries about that happening. This will just increase your restoration and keep you alive a little bit longer. I am running Gunpowder Gamble just because it's fun. If you wanted to, you could switch in on your mark here to get an extra fragment slot and take something like Ember of Mercy if you're making some fire sprites, or just like Blistering and Char if you want to increase your ignition efficiency. However, I am running Singeing to make sure we have our Gambler's Dodge up as often as possible, and Eruption to make sure we have a big enough AoE on Gunpowder Gamble. Since we are focusing on the melee kills, we're going to be trying to hit Blade Barrage as often as possible, and Knock 'em Down does increase the amount of knives in Blade Barrage. And for reference, if you are using Blade Barrage and you want to hit all things in your target, don't worry about beams. You don't really need that. Just make sure you are moving backwards when you pop your super. It makes it a tighter spread. Don't ask me why. That just seems to be how it works. If you're moving forward, it's got a wider spread, so better for killing ads, but the backwards movement's better for hitting a single target. Once again, I'm going to talk about stats for this first build, and then we'll stop talking about stats after that. Going into the new stat system, I don't think resilience or any of the other like weapon stat is going to be pivotal. I think you can kind of go for a nice even spread and you'll have a totally fine time. If you are running something that relies on a specific ability, obviously you want to prioritize getting that to 100 and maybe even over. This build would love to have super over 100 because you are going to try to press it as often as possible, which means you want to get as much damage out of it as possible, as well as you would want to work in some extra melee stats to make sure you're getting your full resets as often as possible. Grenade and class ability, you can kind of go for that middling 50 to 70. Recovery, which is going to be your health stat, resilience is going to be your health stat, but I'm just saying health in general. For your recuperation orb, I would say 50 to 70. The highest you can get, it's the ideal. I don't know how close we're going to be to getting all 100s, but just remember, 100 in a new system is going to be better than 100 now. So even if you're getting all 70s in your stats, it's about 100 in what the stats would be now. So still very powerful, very good cooldowns. We don't have trouble with that right now. Most people are not running triple 100s, quadruple 100s. So we are going to be going a bit harder into the cooldowns now, and you can just go a little bit further in something like this where you might be able to get, more than a knife back if you're running something like Ophidia. Moving right along to our second Hunter Solar build. I have Calibans on here because I think Calibans is a very fun one. The Legend Campaign is probably the hardest content where you'll be able to run Calibans without running into some issues. It'll take care of red bars because you are relying on proximity knife to get kills here. You can soften targets up with the hand cannon here. Your Sunshot's not going to one-shot them. But for Calibans, what you're trying to do is get a kill with your proximity knife. And if it gets a kill with the knife, the target will ignite, cause an ignition. Very cool, very fun. Obviously, if you have the refund aspect on, you can get a refund for that kill as well. If you don't get a kill, it will at least scorch the target, which can give you some dodge cooldown back. And if the knife does not explode, if it gets stuck somewhere, you'll get faster recharge speed. You're going to want to put some points into strength here to make sure you're getting some extra damage on your knife, and that'll help you guarantee some kills in there. Not going to worry about grenade as much because you're not really focused on that. I did take Sunshot because I like running Sunshot on Solar. good for getting kills. If you are down to run a special weapon, just take Lord of Wolves. I have a sniper on here just as a general all-rounder. We are taking on your mark here, so getting headshot kills will give you extra stacks of this buff, and once you're maxed out, you should start getting Radiant on headshot kills. So it's kind of designed to build into that, as well as taking Sunshot here will get you that Radiant with the as artifact mod. So you have a lot of ways to build into Radiant. You might not need them. I wanted the extra slot here though, because I wanted to take Singeing to make sure we're getting our class ability back when we need it. I wanted to take Mercy and Singeing and Searing so we can make sure we get our fire sprites and we're getting some restoration. Because I am taking Incendiary Grenade here to add some extra Scorch in. It might be better to take Swarm Grenade because if Incendiary one-shots, it won't proc Singeing. So I might actually take Swarm Grenade. Now, Eruption's here to give you some bigger ignition effects on Calibans. You could go for some other effects in here that will also boost ignitions, but I think this is the only one you really need for an ignition build. I do have Golden Gun Marksman on because we're going to be doing Ember Torches for Radiant. We're not going to be taking Galanor, so I'm not really worried about Blade Barrage. I think just taking regular Golden Gun and make sure you get Radiant when you pop it is good enough. So our first Stasis build is a Renewal Grasp build. This one is actually very fun, and I think it's much better on Stasis than it is on Prismatic, just because on the Stasis subclass, we have the Touch of Winter here, which will boost your Duskfield grenades to a bigger radius and make them spawn a crystal. With Renewal Grasp, they will spawn a bigger crystal and have a bigger radius. With that, we have to take our obvious choices here, Silence and Squall and Withering Blade. All of this can contribute slow and freeze in there. Once you are freezing targets, shattering them will give you a great amount of bonus damage. For this build, though, you do want to take Whisper of Durance because that will increase the duration of your Duskfield grenade, which means you have more uptime of that, giving you more Frost Armor duration. We are going for max Frost Armor duration and stacks because we have so much generation for that. Conduction is in here with Grim Harvest because making some of these shards will give you some more Frost Armor, and if you're not getting your grenade up, or you're using just a weapon, or something happens, you have a way to continue to generate that Frost Armor. You could, in theory, drop Grim Harvest for something like Winter Shroud, but Grim Harvest is probably the most consistent option. Even though you do need kills to keep this up, it will just make sure you are always staying topped up and getting a little bit of healing out of those shards as well. Torment and shards are here to double commit to the grenade regen. Shattering the crystal will get you a little over half of the way to your next grenade. You can contribute extra things with things like firepower or bomber or innervation to get you some extra energy, but I think just this with Torment, since you're taking so much reduced damage while in your Dusk Field, will help you get your grenade back and have almost 100% uptime, if not 100%. For Renewal Grasp itself, it just makes your Dusk Fields better, and then while you are in a Dusk Field, you and any teammate will get Frost Armor at a rate of 1 per half second, give or take. And any enemy inside of it will deal half damage to you as well. So if you are in a situation where there is a dangerous enemy, you want to throw your Dusk Field on them and catch them in your ball. Once they're in there, they'll be doing half damage for your entire team. If you are able to, and that's what this build is kind of leaning into, if you're able to be in the dome at the same time as them and you have your masked Frost Armor, you're going to be having about 50%, and they'll have 50%, giving you much stronger damage reduction. If you count for resilience, we're talking about like 80% DR or something like that. So very, very strong. It'll keep you alive through a lot of content. It's not going to keep you from dying when a bunch of GM enemies are all shooting you and you're sitting in the open, so I wouldn't recommend that. You still have to play a little bit smart with it, but you'll at least have very good uptime, very good DR consistently for you and your team. I did put Lord of Wolves on here because getting headshots with it will give you Radiant. This is a great option for being in the same Dusk Field. You're going to be at that close range. It will destroy anybody who's frozen and shatter them, so getting you that bonus damage. And I took a Stasis Primary here. I put Fair Judgment on because the artifact mod is going to be hit based, and it feels like it'll be a little bit easier to get the headshots you need with an auto rifle because you can hold it down. However, take a hand cannon if you want. I don't have my Stasis hand cannon on here, but my Rhyme Stealer explosive payload hand cannon is a great pick here. Anything with Rhyme Stealer is your ideal. And then if Headstone, if you want the consistency of getting some extra freezes and some more Frost Armor, or Onslaught. Also, I would highly recommend making sure your Rhyme Stealer is enhanced if you're going to be using this build, because that will give you 2 stacks of Frost Armor instead of 1, which is very, very big. And now for our second Stasis build, we are doing a Mask of Fealty build. Again, you can use Mask of Fealty on Prismatic, and it works a lot better than the Renewal Grasp does. However, just on regular Stasis, it still works perfectly fine. I am putting Sunshot on here just to give you that Radiant still, good consistent hand cannon. But I wanted to take Tenacious here with Choke Clip to make sure you're getting Choke Clip hits enough, because we are actually going to be trying to make stasis shards and using the stasis shards. So let's talk about Mask of Fealty real quick. Mask of Fealty upgrades your stasis shuriken attack. Once it bounces for the first time, it will spawn a crystal, and on the third bounce, it will create a crystal. This means that on those hits, it basically freezes on hit instead of slowing on hit. You also get the slowed effect and then the freeze effect. Before overloads, it's no longer going to matter. This isn't going to help you with unstops anymore. And you will get a piece of your melee energy back for every hit. It's a very small amount. Now, in addition to that, if you use your Withering Blade to shatter a crystal or a frozen enemy, they will spread out and shoot out more Withering Blades. Those can make extra crystals. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. They can also freeze, slow, and damage anything nearby. So if there's groups of enemies, this is very good for taking out groups, as well as refreezing them and letting you continue to chain it. You will need some extra stasis shards, because if you're not getting kills, you won't be consistently getting this. But if your teammates are on stasis making stasis shards, you can benefit from that to continually do it. Or if you are just able to kill them with that while they are frozen or while they are slowed, you will have a pretty good uptime on that, because in our subclass we are still taking Grim Harvest, but we are also taking the Hunger, Whisper of Hunger, which makes it so that your stasis shards give you double the energy. So on a regular red bar, you'll be looking at like 25% melee energy, 20% melee energy per shard, and that can obviously overflow because you have 2 charges. And for a large shard, for a major or higher, you're looking at 70% of your melee per shard. This will also give you some frost armor to work with. We still have a Whisper of Shards on here because I am taking cold snaps. This gives you some immediate freezing ability in case something is pushing you. And after they hit with Touch of Winter, they will split and make new crystals. New grenade trackers. You'll also get like 2 grenade trackers that will go out after it hits the first target. But each of those will spawn stasis crystals as they go out and explode. And you'll get up to like 6 or 7 stasis crystals. And each of those can contribute with Whisper of Shards to regenning your grenade. I think for this kind of stat build, you will want a pretty even distribution between strength and grenade, talking like 70-70, 80-80, up to that 100-100. If you have to pick one, go over 100 in your melee for this build. This one's pretty fun. It's not the most destructive. I think the ignitions will be more consistently deadly to nearby enemies, but this gives you a lot more CC and does greatly increase your damage on stasis. I think this is a great offensive option, and that's why we have Tenacious here to give us Chill Clip to slow something, which will give you shards if you need it, and that'll help you keep your frost armor up. Next, our Strand build. This is one that I don't really use very often. I'm not a big fan of Foetracer. I think it's a little boring, but if we're going to be talking Strand, you want to be running Strand, here's a Strand build for you. Take Foetracer so that when you hit powerful targets, you will get 4x weapon surge. Since you're on Strand, you'll get a Strand weapon surge. If you kill the enemy, they'll spawn a Tangle. We don't really have trouble making Tangles, but you're really using this for the 4x surge. With that, we are taking a Strand Heavy. I took Chroma Moria because if we have so much extra damage, why not take a machine gun and just clear through things? If you want to put on a Strand GL or a Strand Rocket, feel free. You're going to be doing just as well. Just tailor it to whatever content you're doing. I did put a Rocket Sidearm on here. I don't think it is necessary to have Lotus Eater. You could do Aberrant Action. You could take Indebted Kindness if you really want, or the new Solar one as well. I have Barrow Diet on here because I think Barrow Diet is a very strong primary. It will chunk through even champions and like GMs, so this is very, very strong. I prefer taking Ambition on here to make sure when you're shooting one single target, you can build up those stacks to dump into them. They're the ones that kind of need that extra damage to kill them. Put One for All's on here because it will benefit taking Ambition, and it will give you better ad clear as well. It'll pull double duty for you. Looking at the subclass itself, we are taking Shackle Grenade and Widow's Silk just to have 2 Suspend Grenades. You could take Grapple, but you're not going to be very survivable. I think it's going to be a bit more rough. But I think Shackle and Widow's Silk gives you a good combination here. So with 3rd generation, if you're not using it all the time, get a little bit of that overflow to get you closer to that 2 stacks to make sure you're not losing out on any energy. Whirling Maelstroms are our other aspect, and that's the standout aspect here, because it will deal damage as it's flying around being a little Beyblade, and if this hits something, it will proc your Foetracer and give you that 4x surge. And then if the enemy dies while you have that surge active, you will spawn another Tangle, assuming it's not on cooldown. We do have Thread of Warding in here to give you a little bit of Woven Mail to help you build into that artifact mod, giving you extra grenade and class ability. Isolation's here to give you some extra DR on specific enemies, and it's a bit more consistent than Thread of Warding. Continuity is here to give you increased suspend duration paired with the extra suspend duration that's normally coming to these Shackle Grenades. This will be hopefully pretty helpful. and pretty safe as a sort of mid-range brawler. For this one, you might actually want to put a little bit more into weapon, and then you can take your grenade and melee down just a little bit. You're not really using those for damage, you're using those for rocking your Foetracer, and a weapon stat should stack with your Foetracer stacks. Finally, we're going to break into Prismatic here, and I got 2 Prismatic builds for you. Number 1 is my Fire and Ice build. The weapons are new. This is just because we are going to be having the artifact with Fire and Ice being very useful together, giving you Frost Armor with the Stasis one, and Radiant with the Solar one. So I'm taking Sunshot and Tenacious here. You can run whatever you would really like. The main thing I want to point out is that I am taking a Heart of Inmost Light Verity class item. Verity gives you more grenade damage every time you get a kill with a weapon that matches your grenade element, up to 100%, and some extra regen on there as well. I really like this with Hunter because Gunpowder Gamble is an aspect, but it goes into your grenade slot. For that reason, while you are using Prismatic, your Gunpowder Gamble grenade counts as whatever element your grenade is. So if you were taking a Void grenade, you could take Buried Bloodline with this, and Buried Bloodline will increase your Gunpowder Gamble detonation damage. Now, on top of that, Foil is obviously a very powerful one here, giving you better ability uptime. All of this is in service of us throwing more Gunpowder Gambles, throwing Swarm Grenades there as well, so that Sunshot is stacking up both of these. Swarm Grenades are doing pretty good damage right now, and while Verities is active, they will continue to go up. If you want to work Devour in here and you're not worried about Stasis and Solar and Radiant, you could always take Magnetic, and put on the thing that makes these grenades weaken. Then you'll get that bonus 15% damage on Magnetic Grenades, and that will also translate to your Gunpowder Gamble do more damage if you hit that target. I have Stylish on here because I think Invis is just very, very useful. If you are not really worried about being Invis, you could take Winter Shroud here and really lean into that Stasis and Solar aspect. I think Hunter has a very good Stasis Solar setup with any of these things. Any of these variations of these two will be very good. I have Golden Gun on here because we're going to have so much Radiant. Why not take the Golden Gun? It is also a roaming super, and you can get Restoration with Fast of the Purpose, so very good for survivability. Obviously, we're taking Protection here so that while we're surrounded, we take less damage. Balance is here for ability cooldowns. We are taking Ruin because we are going to be trying to freeze and do ignitions. So it's nice to just have bonus AoE on all of those. And finally, I have Courage on here to get some extra bonus damage with our Swarm Grenade, our Golden Gun, or our Gunpowder Gamble if you hit a Stasis Shuriken to slow them. I wouldn't recommend Blink if you're not experienced with Blink. You just take Triple Jump. Or if you are just in a puzzle where you have to make a more complicated jump than in a straight line, obviously just switch to Triple Jump. This one, you do want a pretty good split, I think, of grenade and melee. The better you can stack your grenade, though, the better it'll stack with Verity. They should still be multiplicative. So I would recommend going over 100 in your grenade if you have a choice. Now, our final Prismatic one is actually something I think is going to be very interesting, and it could shake up really, really strong, or it might be a little subpar. We'll have to see. This is a Mask of Bakris Prismatic build. So Mask of Bakris is getting changed so that when you use a dodge while you have a Stasis or an Arc super equipped, you will get a stack of bonus damage for all Arc, Stasis, or Lord of Wolves weapons. Arc, Stasis, weapons, Lord of Wolves. It will now stack up to 3 times, and getting kills while you are in that state should give you more of your ability energy back for another dodge. It should no longer lock you out during that time. So altogether, you should be able to get the bonus damage, which will stack with surges now, and get the cooldown back very quickly. So that's what we're trying to build into here. We would want to take some surges here, so I've already put that on. That's what you want to remember to take. You're going to want to build into weapons and class ability out of anything. And then obviously you're taking Lord of Wolves here because that is the premier thing that's getting buffed by Mask of Bakris. And then take a Stasis primary or whatever Stasis weapon you want in the slot. You can take double special if you want and run Tenacious. I just put Fair Judgment back on here because I know everybody will probably have access to this. If you don't, you can buy it from the kiosk. So you'll have Frost Armor, you'll have Radiant on top of the regular bonuses with both of those weapons. And on our class, we can take Winter Shroud, which when you slow targets should also increase your class ability energy. And you should be able to get in close with this build and then do the Mask of Bakris dodge, which will proc Winter Shroud on those enemies. Then if you throw your grenade at them, you'll get some bonus damage. If you switch out a Stasis grenade Stasis melee for combination blow or knife trick, you could always get bonus damage on those. However, if you're just running this normal gun tier build, I say we take Stylish. Hipfiring Lord of Wolves will apply Scorch, so you can get that very consistently. Winter Shroud will just give you better uptime on your dodge to make sure it's charging more. I take Marksman because it's the fastest dodge. There is an argument if you are getting very, very large chunks of ability energy back, maybe you take Acrobats in Winters, because Acrobats will also give you Radiant without you having to really work for it with the headshots. But for now, Marksman Dodge is the fastest option, which means it's the most consistent for making sure you have your Lord of Wolves damage buff up as often as possible. We are going to lose a fragment on Winter Shroud. I'm pretty sure that is Winter Shroud and Ascension losing them. So I recommended taking Fast to Purpose here with the Stasis Super, because the Arc one takes longer to charge and it doesn't do very much more. I think Silence and Squall is just the better super overall. So I would take that with Fast to Purpose for some extra Frost Armor. You can switch this out if you like. Hope is here to give you some more class ability regen, balance for your grenade and melee, and then Protection is the obvious choice here. We're shotgunning, we're on Prismatic. You pretty much always take this one. So that should give you very, very strong Lord of Wolves damage. This might actually be like a very good raid setup. We're going to have to see once the expansion's out, when we've played through the campaign, and I can run some testing on these things. I can tell you for sure what's going to be good in a raid, and I'd love to talk about that in a video right before the raid comes out. Talk about contest mode and day one stuff. But for now, this should be great for taking you through the campaign. I think this might be the best Hunter build to take into the campaign, because I think Bakris, Lord of Wolves is already going to be such a strong combo. I mean, it is right now, but once the dodge cooldown is no longer tied to your Stasis dodge being locked out for 10 seconds, I think it's going to be much, much better just in general. So I'd love to see what this does. I might be running some other things, we'll see. But you guys should test this out and let me know what you think as well. And that's it. That is 7 Hunter builds to get you through the Legend campaign of Edge of Fate. There are going to be many variations of Hunter builds you can run. You can obviously still run the old classics. Combination Blow on Prismatic should be fine. You know, running that with Stylish and Winters will be perfectly fine. If you want to get rid of Winters for Threaded Spectre, I guess you could. You are going to be losing a Fragment slot because we are losing this Winter Shroud slot. But maybe you just make sure you have Courage on, because that'll be a very good combination. Just tweak it a little bit, but Liars, not going to go wrong with it. Any variation of Gunpowder Gamble on this is great. I mean, whatever your favorite build for Prismatic Hunter is, it's not getting significantly nerfed. Just keep running it and make sure you're paying attention to, if your fragment slots change, that you just lose the least important thing in there. In addition, if you are just a fan of running Arc Hunter, you're going to be totally fine. Arc Melee will be great, as well as Ascension should be getting buffed to work better with Combination Blow. You should be getting damage bonuses with it, I guess, is the change they're making. As well, if you're running Void Hunter, you're going to have a great time. More so if you're in a team. A little bit easier to run Void Hunter when there's somebody else to throw an additional super in the mix with your tethers, or you can run Spectral Blades, I guess, and have fun with it. Run Void Hunter, run anything. I think all of you are going to be totally fine. There's something that's wrong with running your favorite class in the Legend campaign. Legend campaign is easy enough that you should not run into any significant issues at all. And with that, I'm so sorry again, Titans, that today was not the Titan video like I thought it was going to be. I just happened to record all the footage and do all the builds for Hunter on accident. So Hunter video today. Congratulations, Hunters. Hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you're running down below, what you're thinking about taking into the campaign mission on Tuesday. We are so close. It should be Sunday when this is coming out. So excited. Can't wait to play the expansion. Titans tomorrow, I promise, this time actually for sure. And I will see you all again very, very soon. Have a great day.